The following may contain language which will be offensive to some people and inappropriate for children. Still here? Then pour your favorite beverage and let's get this fucking show started.
Fantastic Forum, assemble! You're watching Fantastic Forum, the premier show about comic books and your live weekly conversation about entertainment and geek culture. We are the Fantastic Forum coming to you live and direct from the Hall of F. Hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, as the case may be, depending on where you are in the world. And if you're not, you should stick with us. We'll help you take it up a notch. You have the usual suspects in the building. First, he is our riddle inside of an enigma trapped in Chinese finger cuffs. You don't know him. You love him anyway. He's our silent assassin, Jay.
Hey.
Hey, Jay. Not gonna say nothing else? Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Next.
I said, hey, what more do you want?
I said, hey, back. You know what I'm saying? Look, it's a conversation, Jay. It's a conversation now. No. Never mind. Never mind.
That's why everybody loves him. That's why everybody loves him.
That's why they love him. That's why he's the silent assassin, right? He was like, I will stay right here forever. Next, he's our intrepid senior reporter. He's next to live from the cowl. He's our resident Dark Knight detective. It's Oz.
And you literally call him the silent assassin and then expect him to make noise.
Just a little bit when I talk to him directly.
That goes again. It's silent. Do we need to,
You're right.
But he's not assassinating anything.
He's assassinating Lawrence's mind.
Yes. That is in fact what he's doing. He's like a mind flayer of silence. Right, Oz? Oh, Oz is like, I'm vying for the job. Next, he's the backbone, the pillar, the strength of Fantastic Forum, our nigh invulnerable brawler and resident strongman, Moses Magnum.
I wish I could come like the Ultimate Warrior, like, but I can't. I don't have that energy right now.
I like your Man Thing sticker.
Pervert.
I know.
You haven't even seen it. You haven't even really seen it.
Yeah, show him your Man Thing head.
Oh, dude, it's Homer Simpson. That's so awesome. That is fantastic. No, you had it good before. There you go. There
you got to see the eyes because he's looking at Homer as he's.
Yeah. No. It's pretty spectacular, and that is fantastic. You are correct. I did not even see that, so I appreciate you bringing it forward for the audience. My friggin' cat is out here trying to friggin' start the show, but I'm moving him, so hopefully he won't mess around and be a part later. But anyway, as for myself, my name is Lawrence Young. They call me Mayor Young. Welcome to Fantastic Forum. We got a great show for you today because we are going to be talking to you all about Transformers, the new Transformers comic from friggin' Skybound Entertainment. And we're going to be talking to you all. Yay! We're also going to be talking to you all about Knights. Knights, which is another comic, huh?
Without a K, right?
Without a K, correct. No, this is not to be confused with Night Terrors with a K or Night Terrors without a K. This is just regular old Knights that we're going to be talking about. But the book is not regular. It's irregular, if you know what I mean. So we'll be talking about that. And we'll be bringing you some a brief recap of the experience of LA ComicCon. So we'll be talking about that as well. So we got all that going on, and of course whatever else it is that you good people want to talk about, and we'll tell you how it is you can let us know what subjects you want us to tackle in just a moment. But before we do that, we want to make sure that we thank Mr. Scott Rubin, because without him, this show would not exist. So thank you, Scott Rubin, man. Yeah, we're glad things are going well for you, good sir. So with that said, we should have the intern talk about how people can get down with the show.
Want to get in on the action? Call Fantastic Forum on Skype and join the fun. Too shy to call in? That's okay. You can join the Discord chat room available at
fantasticforum.live.
Join the party. You know you want to.
Larry's from
Thank-
Claw.
Right. Yeah, Boston wouldn't take no for an answer, hence why my entire camera shook. So he's
Now you look
here.
like a Bond villain.
Good. I feel like a Bond villain most days. But like, you know, low oh, you just gonna laugh at my face, huh, Jay? Oh, okay. Okay, Jay. I see. I was gonna say it's because I have elaborate schemes that don't come to fruition. But the way you made me laugh made me not want to say that because I was like, man, Jay believes it. I'm like, Jay, like, none of his stuff worked. It's okay, Jay. Look, that's what best friends are for, to laugh in your face.
Hey, better your friends than your enemies.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah,
Like,
your friends like lovingly laugh at you.
Maybe you're right, but maybe you're wrong. I don't know. I'm not sure which one I like more. I don't like either one. That's what I can tell you. I don't know which one I like less. I don't know. But yeah. Boston is definitely like the kind of cat that would be like a super villain's like best friend. Like he'd be like,
Oh yeah. Well, he's like Mr. Bigglesworth before Mr. Bigglesworth got frozen in Austin Powers. Like that's what Mr. Bigglesworth looked like. All that fur.
oh yeah?
Yeah.
I don't remember what Mr. Bigglesworth looks like. It's been such a long time. Like
You don't watch that movie once a week?
No, I do not. Boston, you gotta look
You
at the
need-
camera,
you need-
buddy. Look at the look at the camera, Boston. Oh, so Boston wants to be part of the show, but you don't want to look at the camera. Boston, look at the camera. So people can no, see, this is not what you gotta look at the camera. Okay, here we go. Here, we'll do this. That's okay. There it is.
Larry's putting that pussy to work.
Get us views, Boston. Get us views.
He looks huge.
Yeah, he looks
All right.
big right there. He's not big, he's just furry. But anyway, and now that because I have an HD camera, I'm sure that will look like friggin' Wendigo with his black shirt on. I'm like, oh Jesus. Look, he's probably in my beard. I don't even know. I don't know. Anyway. Forgive me if I have cat fur. I know somebody's gonna tune in later and be like, what is going on?
It's like I'm
what?
allergic just looking at it.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Boston is a different type of cat than that cat, but I could definitely see the resemblance.
Like if you were wearing a gray like sport coat and holding Boston, like you'd be cosplaying.
You're right. You're right. Boston, man, I don't even know. I feel like Boston could not go to a convention. Like he wouldn't be nervous. He would just go home with somebody else. Like he's a friendly cat. Where it's like he's like, you know what? They actually petted me more often than you did. So I'm gonna see how this turns out. Sorry. So, but yeah, that's cool. So, fellas, I missed you all last week. It's good to see you all. I'm glad we're all here.
I missed you on Sunday.
You missed me on Sunday? Oh, at LA ComicCon.
You go to LA ComicCon. You left me. You had me do it all by my lonesome Hunter S. Thompson style.
Exactly. You were friggin' focused.
I don't know. I saw you with some other young fellow making content for the show.
That what young kids call it now? Making content? Back in my day, we just called it hibbity dibbity.
Hibbity dibbity.
Hibbity dibbity.
That's gross.
Can you imagine?
No, yeah. I did. I told my nephew, "Hey, you want to come down?" He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." I need a cameraman. So the only problem is he's tall. So him holding the camera looks.
And all of the camera shots.
They're like they're from the high up to down, but they're also the disparity in my height to all the guests that are interviewed is weird too, because it's like he had to move so I could be in frame. He had to move back because I didn't have the lens I used was a different type of lens. So I saw him going into the house. I'm like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, oh, I'm not in the frame. I'm too short. But it worked out.
The footage was great that I saw.
Yeah. We tried, we tried to do it. I just gave him a GoPro. I'm like, hey, here you go, do your thing. And then he started just getting into every nook and cranny of these statues. And I was like, well, look, let me start from the beginning, man. This fucking shit convention, which I love it, and I call it convention lovingly, because, well, the LA Convention Center, like they put me, they made me park all the way to where the Figueroa side is, like almost going back into the freeway, right? And then they have an entrance to the South Hall, and they don't let me in because they don't have the barcode readers there. Like you have to go to a special room to get your badge from your barcode, And I'm like, can't you just make stations like these? I don't know. It's the organ. So it's like you got to go to the Pico entrance. Now, when they tell me the Pico entrance from South Hall, to me that's that main entrance, one that you see here in our little
Pico.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead,
on the corner of Pico.
You got to go through the piss-soaked tunnel to like this weird warehouse area. And so yeah, we got thrown out from like 3 different doors to start.
Really?
So all right, like this is already getting on my nerves,
It's so weird that LA Convention Center is not, for whatever reason, doesn't feel like that great of a convention center for comic conventions.
It can be if you like fully utilize it, but like also, you go to like Long Beach ComicCon and they're like, you can go in through any door, but it's like, oh, go get your badge first. There's like a little area before you go. Like they check for badges at a different area. You can go into the lobby and walk around the lobby and still be okay. And they don't let you go. They don't let you do that here. Like you got to be in the street essentially, unless you have your badge, which is
right.
And because of the layout of this convention center, this just doesn't make sense. Like they should let us take the bridge. It's an easier walk for one.
Right.
Like, and you can see the people, you can experience some of it at least. And you could buy some overpriced because that's where the food court is. So,
right.
But and then in the main doors to the actual exhibit hall, nobody's checking for badges. So it's a weird setup. But nonetheless. And then right when we got in, we ended up like he just automatically like turned on the camera. It's like, what do we have here? And he starts looking at these knives and shit. And I was trying to share it here, but I don't think it would let me. Let me try it again. So you can get a sense of what like the first thing you saw. And then I'm at this point I'm experiencing it through my nephew's eyes, Adam Babong. For all you who've never heard him.
Adam Babong.
It's not wanting to do it. I think it's because I'm showing.
It's added to the thing, though.
It's not added to the thing, but I think let me try it again. I can't add more than one. I think is what it is.
Oh, that's weird. I feel like you should be able to upload as many video clips
that
as
particular
you want.
video. It's that particular video is not letting me. It's probably too big in size.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But so yeah, he doesn't know you're not supposed to touch these things. He's like grabbing it, and I'll put that video up. I was going to use it for B-roll here instead of on the channel, but I'll put that up just as like a little walkthrough thing. And yeah, he starts touching the knives and stuff, and then I'm like, hey man, you forgot to do it. But then the guy just starts putting on a show for him, showing him everything he's got, and he ended up buying something from there too. So it was a good time right from the start. Aside from the entrance problem, right where we went, boom, good. And from then on we just ran into people we knew a little bit, or I knew. Did a couple interviews like right from the gate. They had some really interesting jewelry. And then that video should be up tomorrow on their channel. And it's Larry. You remember they did this thing where right off of the South Hall they take you to the small vendors, like the small businesses. You know, oh, Larry's gone.
I remember,
There.
Fred.
Yeah, he had a cat issue he needed to take care of.
He had pussy in his
I'm
face.
back.
You can't show that on YouTube.
Indeed,
He had to throw it.
indeed. But
He had to throw Austin in the river.
yes,
Oh, you guys
I
have
put
paper
him.
plastic bags, so it's kind of more difficult to do that.
That's not true.
Sheesh, man. So grim. Golly.
It's
Oh, I
actually
do
easier
remember what you're
because
talking about though.
but
What now?
no, but you remember like when you get your badge, you go straight into the small business area, and there's a streaming
Mhm.
section. So now they had a go-kart race track in there.
Really?
So Segway makes go-karts now. And
Segway.
yeah, but I don't think any of us can fit in it. Like it's
For kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're
kids.
but they're like they look
155-pound kids.
Okay,
But
nerdy kids.
they look really cool, and they were they collabed with Transformers, so they let the color scheme of like different Transformers
Oh,
for
that's cool.
each car. So they did little races, but not everybody was gunning, and so you just see a little kid just doing laps. And then yeah, so I like that they put you through that little small business section because you get to see a lot of like good artists and independent, you know, that they pay more for a booth, you know.
Right.
And then we got to meet these jewelry designers that make really good stuff. And again, I'm hyping it up, but that'll be released tomorrow on fantasticforum.live. So we walked through that, and then we went to the main hall. And in the main hall, we're like, well, what are we gonna do? So like, let's snake around. Let's just go see everything, and then record what you like. And you know, when I tell you we're gonna stop and talk, we stop and talk. And yeah, we did that. We went all through the hall. It took us about. It wasn't as packed as last year was, Larry. When we went on Sunday, it was really packed. This year, it wasn't that packed. It was easier to get to everything, and
cool.
It was we did, I want to say, from 10 o'clock to about 1:30, we did nothing but like try to get content. And then from there,
cool.
We went to lunch, had a couple beers, smoked a joint, and then went back to like buy stuff. And then that's when I met Dan Slott.
And now we get to the meat.
Yeah. Well, Adam wanted to go to the bathroom. He's like, here, go to the bathroom. And then the bathroom is right where, you know, it's the bathroom. So, of course, there's going to be shit around there. So, comicsketchart.com puts their booth there. Right.
And he still trashes them. I love it.
Hey, like, Oz was there when they're like, they literally, it says the price includes a signature, which I thought the book was, and then the lady, you know, that did Animosity wasn't there. So it's like, why the fuck are you selling her books? Like, at least sell it signed, you know?
Right.
Like, but they didn't say
going
like,
way back.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I was there.
That's when the beef started. That's when the grudge started, you know? And that's where
I gotta give Mo his props. Like this fool, like he's not the dude that's like, man, I hate them, and I can't quite remember why, but I know it's important.
No,
Moses
I know
never
exactly
that guy.
why.
Moses is exactly why. Exactly.
Motherfucker Douglas at comicsketchart.com.
Yeah, I've had a few issues with them. I think we talked about on the show before.
He's like, just come to the next show where she's at, and she'll sign it for free. And I'm like, fuck you. Like, how the fuck you mean you're not gonna give me a list of what her shows are gonna be, where she's gonna be signing, like with you guys? Like, what the fuck?
Also,
you know?
He's gonna walk up with a book. She's gonna be like, all right, well, just go ahead and pay and I'll sign it. Like, they're not gonna remember him.
No, but the cover of that trade paperback is a Comic Sketch Art exclusive cover, so they know it's theirs. So that's the only good part about it, or the silver lining. But yeah, this is beside the point. I have decided to make amends to a degree, because they had Dan Slott here at LA ComicCon, you know, and I got to see, there's only like 6 people ahead of me, but they all had like 2 big old tote bags full of stuff to get signed. And so it was a bit of a wait. And he was just, he didn't mind. He just signed everything, you know? And
the thing is, though, you didn't even know he was going to be there.
I didn't know. I didn't know at all. And so here's the weird thing. So I get to see, this is after we ate lunch. I went to the bathroom. I bought a beer after we hit our vape pen. And I had the beer with me walking in, and I'm I'm chilling there, just waiting for Adam to come out of the bathroom, and I see Dan Slott, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna stand in line, but I don't want to hold the beer because I want to have my hands free, right? So I just pounded it, and then that's when I see our where we did the owner of the AUHS where we did our WonderCon stuff, and he's like, he literally probably just pound the whole beer. He's like, "What are you doing here?" You know, and so I got to talk to him a little bit. And then, then I met that Slot, and it was like, I bought stuff there because I didn't have anything for him to sign. And yeah, I was wearing a full Spider-Man shirt, but I wasn't like, it wasn't from one of his runs, the art. It was the McFarlane run, which I actually have my hat here that I was going to wear today for purposes of the story, but I didn't because I got a haircut now. I look, you know, if I put it on, it look a little like, look if I'm sick. So. But if I had that hat, I wish he would have signed it too. But yeah, and you know, I just got finally, you know, after he signed all those people's books and called that one guy's friend on the phone too, you know, and he got to me, and then he's like, I don't know if he knows me from me trolling him about Alpha on Twitter or nothing, but he was looking at me like, you know, he was signing and he was like looking off to the side when I got in line, you know, and I don't know if it was because he thought I was gonna start crying or something, which I almost did. I'm not ashamed.
Which makes sense.
So then I just said hi. You know, I told the lady, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna buy that and that, please. And then he's like, okay. So I paid for it and everything. So all I had to do was just give it to him and have him sign it. And then with that, you know, he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, pretty good, man. I didn't know you were gonna be here. And then that's it. And then he's like fiddling with the book because since it was vacuum sealed, he didn't want to open the pages too much because the paint or the ink would like mess up on the hardcover. Because I got Fantastic Four volume 2, his second hardcover, and
right.
So he's like, and he was gonna sign it on the inside, and then he's like, yeah, and then I bought Spider-Boy #1, the comic sketch art exclusive, and he's like, yeah, I can't sign this on the outside. Is that cool? I'm like, yeah, you just do whatever the fuck you want with these books. You want to tear them there? You're crazy. That's what I said in my head. I didn't say that out there. Outside, I'm like, yeah, it's good, you know, because I was genuinely, I was starstruck. Like, I mean, you know,
well,
you know what?
Like, we know how big of a fan of Dan Slott you are.
I'm over here checking my phone, and I didn't miss a call from Dan Slott.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't say anything other than hi, yeah, good, do whatever you want with the books, and thank you, and that's it. I didn't say nothing. I'm not gonna waste this time. Like, I'm sure everybody's probably telling him how great he is or shit, you know. I would have wanted him to tell me to go fuck myself like he did that one guy in that forum that one time, because that's one of my favorite moments of his, where he's like, you suck at Spider-Man. Like, you know what, man? Fuck you. Fuck yourself. You know? Like, but I don't want to give him a reason to say that to me, but yeah, so yeah, that was it. And I just tried my hardest not to tear up, man. Yeah.
Well, listen, we're glad that you made it through, Mo.
And then, you know, and then you look, we got a call, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it Dan Slott?
It is not Dan Slott. It is Ed Davis. How are you, good sir?
How are you today?
Good. Welcome to Fantastic Forum, man. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for letting me in. I appreciate it.
No.
Yeah. He was there.
We always love to have creators. Yeah, please, like, talk about it, Mo.
Yeah. So Ed Davis is one of the dudes that we interviewed there, and He's that video is up already if you want to check that out. Not right now, but later. But yeah, it was a good time catching up with him, and then he's got a couple things he'd like to talk about too, man. Tell us about how was your sales for this LA Comic-Con?
I actually did really well this year. This was my top year ever selling at LA Comic-Con. I hit top numbers for any cons because I've always been chasing a certain number, and this time I exceeded it by an extra $100. And that's with LA not advertising my exclusive at all. So even with that, I had really, really good show. I mean, I talked to a lot of exhibitors who said they had a hard time, but I'm a pest on the floor. I mean, I will solicit everybody and just try to get them to come over and hear about my book. I throw out so many free stickers, but it's just like, hey, come on over here. And the ones that are complaining about sales, I look over, they're sitting on their cell phone, playing whatever game. It's like, no, you got to engage. You have to be a part of the audience if you want any chance to get those sales. And it paid off. I mean, it was a great con overall.
That's awesome to hear, Ed, man.
Yeah.
And look, you're absolutely right too. It's like you can't be shy. You got to engage the public if you're going to move any product.
Yeah, because your art alone, I mean, there's a lot of amazing art on any given aisle. So people are going to look at your art like, oh, that looks cool, and then they're going to walk on because I don't have Spider-Man, I don't have Superman, Wonder Woman. Nobody knows anything about my characters. So a really nice art piece of my characters that they don't know anything about, that does me no good. So I have to sell them on a story, and then the art can do its job once they take a look at it.
Right. Speaking of which, was it a Mortal Era that you had out there?
I did. I had Immortal Era. I just got issue 8 in of Immortal Era. So that one, I had the new issue of Immortal Era. I had an LA Comic-Con exclusive cover for issue 3. So I've done 3 consecutive exclusives for the con. So I had that. And then I had my brand new series, Corruptor. I had that one on the table as well.
That's awesome.
And Corruptor
you want to
actually not out yet.
Well,
Corruptor's not actually yet. It's in Kickstarter, so we're funded.
Yeah. So it's on Kickstarter, but I decided, you know what? I have the books in hand. Why am I not going to go and sell them at the con? Even though, it's nicer to get backers on the Kickstarter, but when it comes down to it, if people backed me and Moses backed mine as well, and he was able to just come and pick up his copy. So I told the people, hey, if you backed me, come and grab your copy. You don't need to wait. And if stretch goals get unlocked, I'll mail you a little envelope full of the stretch goals. But why not let the people have their book? Why wait till January when I have to wait for, the funds to release and all the extra little things that Kickstarter requires when I can just hand someone their book right away?
There it is. Christmas came early.
Yeah. It was a surprise, and it's part of what I love about, buying books from him. One, when I remember the first time we met at LA at Long Beach Comic-Con, right before the pandemic, and I'm, when's the next issue? Like, because a lot of these independent books, sometimes they fizzle out, or And no, I have the finished story in my head, and I'm already working on issue 4 and 3, and and so I'm like, all right, and I'm happy to do it now. Corruptor, which is in fact, why don't you tell us a little bit of what Corruptor is?
All right, so Corruptor, it's a shared universe story, but it's got a completely different vibe, and it takes place before the events of Immortal Era. In Immortal Era, the entire world becomes immortal, and we see kind of the attempt to bring death back into the world. Corruptor is before that, and in this world, it centers on a mafia hitman. He gets killed in his final job, and as soon as he dies, he's recruited by a demon, and that demon wants him to go down to hell so he can get a job offer from Satan. Satan offers him a job to go back to Earth and be what they call a corruptor. The corruptor's one and only job is to ruin souls so that they end up in hell instead of going up to heaven, because heaven and hell are locked in this timeless battle, both sides trying to get as many souls as they can before Immortal Era begins. Because when the Immortal Era begins, all the portals to the afterlife are going to close up. So it's for no other reason than bragging rights, but both sides are trying to get souls. And our mafia hitman is kind of torn between the two worlds because he's recruited by hell, but heaven's not letting him go so easily. So they're sending their people down to recruit him as well.
Wow, that it sounds epic. I mean, it's like, dude, I love like anytime people mess with Christian mythology, I mean,
Yeah.
so I love it.
Yeah, and when he talks about giving the spiel, selling them on the story, he does it. My nephew Adam, when he heard him, we're gonna do the little interview, and then a potential customer came and he's like, "Give me 1 second." He went and did the spiel, and he's listening to what the story is. I had told him already the Immortal Era stuff because from what I know of it, and like, we got to look for this. We got to look for the Immortal Era banner. This is where we got to go next. And then he's like, okay. And then when he starts hearing Corruptor and then being in the same universe, he's like, oh, they're in the same universe. He turns to me like all excited, like they're in the same universe. He's never read any of it. He just knows a little bit of the first story. He's like, wow, the way he explains it to people. He's like, he wants to see it. He wants to read it, and then I hit him.
Yeah, and I've had to work so much to get the pitch. Because in the beginning, like when you would have come up to my table in Long Beach, I just rambled on. I mean, I meandered like, hey, and this and that. I'm describing every fucking thing that happens in the book when I need to tighten it up. So I gave myself the challenge. You have 30 seconds to tell them everything they need to know. And I sat there with a stopwatch and I said, okay, that took 45. Chop. Okay, I got it down to 35. Chop. Until I could do a perfect tight pitch in 30 seconds, frontward, backward. And yeah, I even said, you want to hear my pitch? I don't have time. I'm like, I need 30 seconds of your time. I guarantee you I won't go a second over. And they were like, yeah, right. I said, if I go a second over 30 seconds, I will give you this book for free. And they listened to the pitch, ended up buying the book. But I forced myself to just chop it and chop it and chop it because people have a lot of things they want to see at a con. They don't need me talking for 4 minutes about my book. But if I can give them the full story in 30 seconds, it's good. And I've made it where now it's 45. I can pitch Corruptor and Immortal Era and connect them so that they know by the end it's a full connected universe. And, maybe one won't hook them or the other. But I think when I tie it together in the end and people hear, oh, yeah, it's all a shared universe and he's trying to get the souls before Immortal Era begins, it has that good closer moment. But yeah, that was just fighting myself to not just ramble on. Because I mean, if someone engages me long enough, I'll probably tell them the ending of both stories.
and that's the thing where not only do you have to be concise with your pitches just because it's like, hey, you're trying to respect people's time in regards to all the stuff they're trying to see at a con, but in this day and age, man, people's attention spans are so short.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like cats tune out after 25 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, so the fact that you went ahead and made sure that you got a concise 30, that's good stuff, man. Like that's why you moved more books than you ever had before.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I know after about 20 seconds if I even need to give them the full 30. Because you'll see those people, they're like, they are not in it. And then there's a few that I start pitching it and I can see the how offended they're becoming at everything I'm talking about and showing. And I was like, oh shit. One guy was so angry at me, like, well, that's just evil. And, you have Satan on your banner. I'm like, well, you know what you're getting. There's no surprises. But yeah.
It's a demon.
Like if I don't offend someone, I'm not doing my job.
Yeah.
There it is. Here.
I'm looking at the Kickstarter for Corruptor, and there is a way to send books to the troops.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was working with something and I found one that you could give books to students, but the last thing I need is my book in the hands of students. But in the same category, they had one that you could send to soldiers that were deployed overseas. So what I did with that was I just said, if you donate to that one, I'll match whatever you send. So if someone backs that tier or adds on that tier, because you have it as an add-on as well, then they end up getting 2 books for each one. So they'll get the trade paperback of Immortal Era and issue 1 of Corruptor. So every packer, and I think we have about 5. So that means at minimum, we'll be getting 10 books out to the soldiers that are deployed overseas.
That's very cool, man. That's awesome. Look, I've never been in the service. And I know Jay has, but it's like, I could only imagine, like, me being who I am if I was in the service, especially if I was off somewhere, like, that wasn't home, and I got a pack of comics. Oh my God, that would make my day. Like, I can't even tell you how happy that would make me as an individual. I can't speak for every soldier, but I would like to think that they would appreciate it as well, because I would just be like, man, it would feel like a little taste of home.
Yeah, something to pass the time, if nothing else.
Exactly, right? Because Lord knows, it's like, you're in like random deployment, and it's like you might only be able to get so much content as is. Just getting mail, right?
Yeah, and that's why I'm actually going to have, because I teach 5th grade, so I'm going to have my students write letters as well that we can package along with those books.
Nice.
Now, how long have you been teaching 5th grade, Ed?
I have been teaching 5th grade for 24 years now.
Oh my God, Jesus! God bless you. Look. Speaking of deployments,
Oh, some days.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, man, like 24
that's
years of teaching 5th graders.
That's what I told Adam when we were getting there. Like, oh yeah, the way he explains everything, he does it well because he does have that background, that standing in front of people.
Yeah, that's my whole day, is talking to people, and I'm trying to sell them on math. It's a lot easier to sell someone on a comic book.
There is, and that's the whole thing where 5th and 6th grade, like, those are those tough years, man. Like, that's that transition where you can't BS 5th and 6th graders.
That's what
they know too much.
Mm-hmm.
And that was before the internet. Now I don't even know what 5th and 6th graders like. They're basically adults, probably.
Oh yeah, it's crazy because I've seen. I mean, figure if I started before internet was even a factor.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
there was no internet. It existed, but none of the kids had it. It wasn't at their fingertips. Like, cell phones, those were, clunky little fold phones. That's what people had. They made phone calls. That was it. And, to see how the kids have shifted as the internet's grown, as the world's at their fingertips, it's
now you're
pretty crazy to see.
They wrote their report, or if it was ChatGPT, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's why I'm like, all right, every draft has to be handwritten, because I know they're smart enough to ChatGPT it. And you know what? If they do a handwritten draft and go make it better on ChatGPT, at least I know they put the work in.
Right. man. But Ed, talk to us now. Your company is Finish Line Comics, right?
Yeah.
Talk to us about that in general. Like, why did you go with Finish Line, and how did you come up with that initially?
The initial thing, I was actually just kind of talking with my wife, and I said something about oh my gosh, it feels like this race, I'm never going to make it to the finish line. And she said, why don't you call your company Finish Line Comics? And it came, if you look at my banner, it's a skeleton, not quite making it to the finish line. And it's based on the fact that I'm a long distance runner. I've done races up to 48 miles long. And that describes the feeling as you get to that finish line. Some races, you're just like, all I want to do is die, and I still have 2 miles to go. And it's just, what seems like, I can do 2 miles in my sleep. Not after 46. They end up feeling like the worst miles of all time. So that kind of started the whole Finish Line Comics thing, because I thought, what's something that connects with, my main life? Because anyone who knows me well knows I'm a distance runner, and that's, one of my big passions. And I did that as well because I thought I can get people, I can get runners who will come to my booth and they'll just come over and start talking running, and I'll be like, oh, by the way, I got a t-shirt of that, and it's in tech material, so you can actually go run a race in it. And I've sold a lot of shirts to someone who has no interest in the comic book, but they just like the logo.
Of course, that was cool. That's a great way to incorporate two of your interests into one thing. That's awesome.
And how does like the discipline of running, like how does that benefit you? Like that helps you crosses over into your creative space, right? Like the ability to like stick to something.
It really does, and it's my best thinking time. I'll put on some kind of a music that just kind of turns into white noise, and at that point I start trying to develop plot lines in my head, and I have a writing pad. I have writing pads everywhere. I have in my car, my bedside, and one of them I have is right downstairs, and I get home from a run and I'm just dripping sweat but pouring out ideas all over this paper. So it's one of those things where whole storylines have been conceived when I'm on a run. In fact, making the Corruptor series connected into the Immortal Era universe, that was something that I got on one of my runs.
Nice. So, Ed, you got Immortal Era, you have Corruptor. Are there any other projects that you can go ahead and like kind of tease for us?
There is one. I'm working on it right now. It's still in its scripting phase, but I already have an artist attached to it. And it's going to be based on developing eye floaters. It was some weird thing that happened to me. I ended up getting a couple eye floaters, and then I lost 40% of my visual field. And had to get multiple surgeries to get the floaters removed. So I thought, what if these are, evil parasitic monsters that take people over, and these floaters now turn people evil. So it's going to be partially autobiographical, because some of the shit I actually went through in real life, people will think is the fictional part. And then, completely fictional, because of course all these people are going to become hostile serial killers. But I thought that'll be kind of a fun one to do that won't be connected to either universe. It's kind of its own. It's going to be a one-shot 48-page standalone issue where it's like, okay, one and done. You don't have to wait, because with Immortal Era and Corruptor now, I want to do it every 2 months, getting new issues of both series out. But with this one, you can read it, and when you're done, you're done.
Well, look, there it is, good people. You heard it here first on Fantastic Forum. Ed Davis has killed a person or two. You think it was fiction, but no, it did happen.
I don't know about the murder part. I don't need the cops waiting at my door when I get home.
But that's so crazy, just because I have an eye condition myself, and so I have plenty of floaters. And so for you to say that and just to be like, oh, I'm like, what? Like I'm blown away by that concept, and I'm like, I can't wait to. Right? No, look, I scare easily, Ed. So you definitely gave me some stuff to think about. Where I'm like,
I wrote I'd say like the first third of the story while I had my eyes dilated, sitting in a waiting room that I had been in for 14 hours. So the nurse comes up to me and goes, "Can I get you anything?" I'm like, "Get me a stack of paper and a pen." She's like, "But you can't see." I'm like, "I can see good enough. I mean, it's going to be blurry as shit, but guess what? I can write." So I'm just sitting there like frantically writing, like, okay, all this weird shit I'm going through, this will look really good in a story. And yeah, it's going to be a wild one, but yeah, anyone who's had floaters, I told my wife, I want to do to floaters what Jaws did to sharks.
There it is. And so after your surgery, your vision has been restored. Like you got that 40% back.
Yeah, okay, I got like 3 or 4 that lingered, but I still have to go in every few months and they laser. So before we're done, they'll all be gone. But I just went out going out for a run. It was a bright sunny day, and I was like, holy shit. Like the entire bottom half of my vision is just floaters. And I just decided to have fun with the doctors and start describing weird things. They're like, well, can you describe your visual field? I said, yeah, just imagine you're in a dump full of diapers, nothing but diapers, and it's being overrun by gnats. I said, that's my daily life.
Yeah. Jeez,
And I figured if I can do nothing else, I can amuse myself by making the metaphors weirder and weirder. And finally, one doctor goes, well, that's very vivid, and I know what you have, and we're going to go do the surgery right now. So,
oh wow, that's crazy. You had a friggin' house. He's like, oh no, I know exactly what that is.
yeah. He said, I know what that is. We need to get you to laser. He said, but the laser's only going to get you back like 10%. Then the next one you had to do was the chopping one.
Right. Okay, cool. So, Ed, man, but before you go, man, please tell the people, like, how it is they can back the Kickstarter campaign, and if they want to buy some of the books that you already have out, like, let them know where they can go check them out and go get them.
All right, so the Kickstarter, just search Corruptor on Kickstarter. We're the only one there. We did get the Project We Love tag, so it should be right there in the Project We Love category. As far as getting anything else from Immortal Era, if you go to finishlinecomics.com, I have a web store where you can get issues at this moment 1 through 7 of Immortal Era, including the 2 trades if you're more interested in getting those. Issue 8 is going to be uploaded on there soon. I just barely finished fulfilling that Kickstarter, so I'll be putting those up there. And then all of my social media is under Finish Line Comics, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you can go there. And that's also a way that you can see what's coming up, because I'm about to start showing some of the art for issue 9 of Immortal Era, because they're just coming back from the colorist, and there's a few incredible pages I can't wait to show off. So yeah, head over to finishlinecomics.com, go to the web store, sign up for my email list, and be notified whenever a new thing's coming out.
There it is. Awesome, man. Ed Davis, man, thank you so much, man, and for coming on and calling in. And please, don't be a stranger, man. Anytime we're talking about something that you feel like you have an opinion on, we always love to get the creator's take on stuff. So please, you don't need to have anything to promote to talk to Fantastic Forum. Feel free to jump
that sounds great. I love listening to your show. Your show is when my brain is dead, you're my listen to it on a run show. So yeah, I love listening to you guys, and definitely we'll call in again, just not to shamelessly self-promote.
Hey, you can shamelessly self-promote as far as we're concerned. Look, we're not going to hold that against you at all, but feel free, if you don't need to do that, you can call in still.
Absolutely. I would love to.
Cool. All right. Thanks again, Ed.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Later. All right. Good times. So, what were you going to say that, Mo?
Oh, no. I was trying to see how to hang up, but he hung up on himself, so it worked.
Yeah. No, he's good. He's a professional. He knows what to do.
Yeah.
There it is. We should go ahead and jump into some Transformers content. So let's do some comic book reviews.
Comic book
review.
Comic book
Like review.
Well, not like that, but like.
I love it. Look, it's okay. Listen, I see. As we started talking about Transformers, the comic book, only the real Transformers fans stuck around. Everybody else was like, they're like, I gotta go pee all of a sudden. It's like, you ain't gotta go pee. You messed around. Listen. No. Oh, Oz actually has to go to work. He just texted. So shout out to Oz. Oz has a legit reason for dipping out. Mo's like, I'm more of a GoBots guy. Shame.
I like GoBots too.
No. I mean, listen. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with liking GoBots too. There's something wrong with liking GoBots more. and that's the camp that Mo falls in. Mo's like, Psykill's better than Megatron, and it's like, what? What did you say? No, come on, Jay. Jay, what are you doing? Are you weighing that right now? Is that what you're doing? You're like, if this was a conversation about Optimus Prime versus Leader 1, that you can weigh. But Psykill versus Megatron? Come on, man. Psykill?
I mean, he's got his moments.
No, Psykill has his moments, but Psykill's not even better than Galvatron. And Galvatron's crazy. Like, not even, like, literally crazy. This fool's insane because they're like, we can't pay Leonard Nimoy, so we got to make him crazy now. There it is. Moses is back with his GoBot loving ass. Old GoBot loving. No. I made a whole narrative about you had to leave because you like GoBots more than Transformers.
I had to pee.
No. Look,
If I
you
could,
had to pee. Oh, go ahead.
if I could flash forward, I just really want to say Optimus suplexing Starscream is like one of my favorite things ever.
Wait. Listen, I read that joint and I was like, damn. Like it's so funny because I was reading that comic when that happened, and I saw the panel before it, and I was like, what's happening right there? Because I'm looking at the panel beforehand, and I'm just like, it looks weird. I'm like, those aren't Starscream's arms, right? Because what is happening right there? And I look at the next panel, and it's a suplex, and I'm like, a straight up suplex, which is like Optimus Prime is like, ah, and I was like, dude,
not just a suplex, it was a perfect plex.
Right, right. Now you're gonna see a perfect plex, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, friggin' three.
Can I fast forward?
Like, what are they talking about? Go ahead, Mo. What are you saying?
I can fast forward too, Jay. When Starscream got those fucking fighter jets, and then the one it just says Duke on the patch, I almost threw my iPad. Like, I told Emily, look, it says Duke, and then she's like, so.
I know, right? Exactly. She's like, I need to take a Duke.
I know, as part of the what are they calling it? Energon verse?
Energon universe, yes.
Yeah.
Duke and Cobra Commander are both getting miniseries.
Yeah.
Talking about dealing with these giant robot aliens that have come to Earth.
And they're both done by Joshua Williamson too, right?
I believe so.
So good. And then they got Larry Hama to do the G.I. Joe one, which is like, I'm pissed as an IDW.
No, that's not part of it.
Oh, that's not part of that?
No. That's just the regular, a real American hero. That's a continuation of Real American Hero.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's
which is still good though.
No, it's good.
They're like, we got a license, and we're like, if you want that continuation, we got it for you. And they're like, but if you don't want that, if you want new G.I. Joe, we got that for you too.
My thing was more as an IDW shareholder. It's like, man, we lost the license and the writer too. Like,
yay.
Yeah, but
we got the whole thing.
We got omnibus.
But it's really interesting because this this Transformers book. Oh man, I'm sorry. The writer's name is William Kennedy. William what?
Daniel Warren Johnson.
Damn, what in the world? Where did I get Kennedy from?
Or Daniel Johnson.
I'm making him part of the presidential family. But thank you, Moses. Yeah, as the writer, and then who's the artist?
He's the artist as well, and then Mike Spicer's the color.
Sorry.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right. He's doing the writing and the art, and so this whole thing is a little bit. It kind of blew my mind a little bit, just because. The book definitely feels like a singular vision. And it's like, I was just about to say, I was like, oh yeah, the writer and the artist feel like they're very much in sync. And that makes sense because they're one person. They're one person. But it's interesting just because, like, you mentioned the suplex, Jay. And what I can say is it's especially coming from being a person that's a Transformers fan and has been a fan for forever. like, because I remember I was a little kid watching Transformers cartoon, and a little kid reading Transformers the comic books.
I gotta get you and my brother in the same room so that he could call you the N-word when he talks about Transformers.
I would not like that to happen. Here's the thing. I get it. He can do it. I want him to do it because I want him to feel free to do that. I'm gonna punch it. I just want him to be okay with it. I just, and as long as he's okay with that, I'm good.
He can use a punch.
He can. No, I know he can use a punch. I just need him to know that it's coming, so when it happens, he's not like, "Why did you do it? I thought we were cool."
Like you and him are like the two biggest Transformers fans I know.
And so so it's like having read a number of different Transformers comic books, because like I love Marvel Transformers comic books, like Simon Furman and all that stuff going on in that era. I really loved, and I also loved IDW. I loved IDW era. I loved the Dreamwave era. Like, and don't get me wrong, like I can't say that I'm like, oh, all Transformers comics are created equal, because they're not. Some of them are better than others, because like, for instance, like I was not a big fan of Marvel's G2, like Generation 2 Marvel, and Megatron as a tank and all that stuff. Like, and not that I'm opposed to Megatron as a tank in general, but that particular Megatron as a tank was lame as hell. So it's like,
there's more characterization design, right? Like,
right, exactly. So it's like I've read just about every iteration of Transformers comic books that have come out, because I was fortunate enough to be around when they were around. So to read this book, it's like, it's interesting because there are moments when this art is very much like, it feels like, oh, okay, like we have to be prim and proper and have like form and function, because these are alien robots. And so, like, I mean, the cover is a great example of this. Like, I feel like the cover of this issue #1 is super iconic, with Optimus Prime in what feels like a very classic kind of Optimus Prime kind of pose for the comics. Because I don't know if he does this in cartoon much, but in the comics, it feels like he does like that pose semi-regularly, right? And it feels very much like, oh no, this is like, these are robot books, so we got to make sure that like the lines all kind of line up and all this kind of stuff. But then when you get to the point where Optimus Prime wraps his arms around the back of, or around the waist of Starscream and suplexes him, that suplex, that joint's all curved. Like there's like, nobody is worried about what robots look like. What they're worried about is like, it's damn near like, they're like, okay, if a person suplexed another person, like it's like, it's drawn like a comic book suplex. Let's say it like that.
Yeah.
He drew that point as if it was a person.
He might have ripped it off himself, his own work. Like he might have swiped the art from Do a Power Bomb, because didn't like
right, Do a Power Bomb, yeah, absolutely,
yeah. Like, didn't the mom die in a suplex or something like that? Like,
no, she died in a pile driver.
Pile driver, that's what it was. Okay.
Which makes more sense, right? Because her neck broke or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, you see this cover that's presented right here, Jay. Thank you for putting that up. And it's like, yeah, like that joint is very classic, where it's like, and what I like about this cover too is that, it leans into the G1-ness of it, like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this is how it should be or shouldn't be, because like I loved IDW. I'm sorry, IDW. I keep saying IDW. I love Dreamwave's whole like, we want to do Transformers, but we want to make it like work from like a mechanical perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like that felt like what Dreamwave's whole thing was, right? From an artistic perspective, they're like, we're trying to make Transformers as practical as we can, but make them look like what they look like. And so they add like gears and all the other kind of stuff or whatever. So we see Optimus Prime and Dreamwave. It's like there are all these like random like connective kind of gears, but it looks cool as hell. Like especially in comic books where it's just like, oh yeah. But this right there, or that right there, it looks like that looks like the toy posed. You know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, there's some random gaps and spaces, but it's like, so like it looks like the toy that's posed in a way that it couldn't be done in real life. And again, there's the power bomb here where I'm like, that power bomb 100% feels like
Perfect flex.
That's a suplex.
I mean, I'm sorry, suplex. I said power bomb. That
Perfect
suplex,
flex.
right? The perfect plex, and it's a perfect plex because Optimus can you look at his head position. There it is.
Well,
See how his head is right there.
You
Like
can't. They couldn't really draw him on his tippy toes on the other side.
Oh, yeah, he's on the tippy toes. You just can't see it.
Right, because of the horizon.
Right, he's on the tippy toes.
You can tell it's a perfect plex by how in pain fucking Starscream looks right here.
Right.
Like he's
Right.
done. Like because
Right.
the perfect plex is not just a suplex; it's a plex and a pin. Like this was pin.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Here's the pin. You're right. Your shoulders down. Look, his friggin' shoulder pontoons are all like Look, but no, man, it's really interesting because I love the kinetic.
That's gotta hurt, Gene.
Right, of that shot, and it's like it's not worried about the fact that it's a giant robot in this image. What it's worried about is I need to convey that Optimus Prime just suplex the hell out of Starscream, and that's what I need, and that's what happened. That's delivered.
This is what Daniel Warren does. Like this is why I love him. Like because it's no, leave it. I'm gonna dissect that a little bit.
Okay,
but
I'll get it back.
It's only because it is that, like, it's that, but the epicness, like, the horizon line, the curvature of the ground, just to give a foreground, and the kids running, like, they're like, they're running from the debris that's landing after this, like, that shot is just so epic. Yeah.
It really is, and that's
how does he have time
really
to do that and write it? Like, is the thing. Like, the man's a genius,
dude. And here's the other part of it, right? Because we've been talking about the art so far, but let's talk about the actual writing of this book. Because what I love about this book, especially again as a Transformers fan, and this is the thing where, especially when you're messing with G1 stuff, it's like G1 is very simple and very streamlined in its ideas. And Daniel Warren Johnson gets that and conveys that in these books. At the same time, remixes things. You know what I mean? Where it's like it's not like I didn't feel like, okay, I basically just got a comic book adaptation of the first like cartoon episode of Transformers. I don't feel that at all. But what I do feel is that the same kind of concepts and ideas that were trying to be put forward in that episode of Transformers, number one, like episode 1, episode 2, gets conveyed in this comic in issue 1 and issue 2. All they did was he just amped it up maybe just a tiny bit. Like not and it's not even amped it up. Honestly, what he did was he's like, the people that were reading this, or not, the people that are the fans of this are grown. So I can bring it to a grown level. And that's evident in just like the relationship with Sparkplug and Spike. Now, Sparkplug basically has a drinking problem. And he's being like an absentee dad to his son, Spike. And Spike is out here trying to connect with his dad still. And his dad is kind of checked out. And it's like that dynamic, that doesn't work for an 80s cartoon because not only were we dealing with kids, but we're dealing with '80s kids, which we weren't prepared for that kind of story then. But understanding that, hey, your audience are those '80s kids, and those '80s kids are friggin', you know, late 30s, early 40s. It's like, yeah, like I could tackle some of this stuff now because that's the audience. That's like, or the core audience. It's not just
Right.
those people.
But it's still done in
Go
a
ahead, Mo.
way where it's still done in a way, and I had this. This was one of the big things at LA Comic Con too, a theme, if you will,
Mhm.
if you had been there, Larry. Uh,
Larry,
it-
if that's
you
your
know,
real
'cause
name.
I'm watching it through the eyes of my nephew, which is a kid that I essentially, help raise from like
Right.
0 to
Right.
about 8, and
Hmm.
and but I'm seeing people my age with their kids there. So there's a lot more kids now, but it's like than there was like at the Shrine Show before,
Right.
back in the day. So and this is one of those, like, even though it is like heavier subject matter in the sense of the reimagining of Transformers, it's still done
Hmm.
in a way where you can still share it with your own kids if you got it,
Oh yeah. No, it's accessible, and you're
Yeah.
right. It's done in a way where it's like,
It's not like super dark, like
no, a
yeah,
kid could read that and they might like understand that, oh, his dad
is
is something's wrong with his dad, but maybe not necessarily pick up the full breadth of it.
yeah.
And yeah, and that's and look, and it's wild because like what I like is that I feel like the essence of these characters are all being put forward, and in some ways it like pushes it in a slightly more, like I said, like a slightly more like, or I guess it's nuanced. Maybe that's the better way to say it, because if if you can pick up on the nuance, cool. But if you can't or don't need to, then you may not. The only difference I can think, or the only place where I think that that may be not the case, is like what he's doing with Starscream. And I'm not saying that like it as a negative, but I'm just saying like, or not even just Starscream. All the Decepticons are brutal,
Mhm.
and and it's like it's so interesting because um not only are the Decepticons brutal, but the other thing that has been done here that I got to give friggin' Daniel Warren Johnson props on is what when you're talking about G1 Transformers has always been about kind of like, or initially about a core group of Transformers where it's like, okay, it's only these people and that's it for now. Um he's created a scenario where it's like as of issue 2, um there's only like 3 Decepticons and 3 Autobots. you know, like that are functional, and in
Yeah.
like the stories about six Transformers for all intents and purposes. And it's crazy because it's like, and it's not even really about the 6 of them. It's really about like Optimus Prime and like a couple Decepticons. Starscream, and depending on who
Like,
Starscream wants to talk to,
and
whether that's Soundwave or
I
Cyborg.
know it's not a popular way to do it. Like we hate it when Michael Bay did it, but it's also about the people. Yeah.
No, see, but here's the thing. It, it is about the people, but it's about the people in the right way. And you're right.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's not like we hate it. It's not we didn't hate that like Michael Bay did it, and he did it like where it's like it's only about the people, and the robots
Right. It's a
are
balance.
right, exactly. The robots play the background to the people in the movie. And it's like this joint's called Transformers. It's not called friggin' Wiki. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like, what the hell? But in this joint, it's like, look, I can't tell you like what I loved, where I was just like, dude, like, so issue, yeah, and some spoilers ahead, so forgive us, if you haven't read these books yet, but If you haven't, you should, and you're gonna have a great time. So issue 1 ends with Starscream like discovering that they're humans, like like humans are a thing on the planet because and he's like, oh, they're super squishy, and he literally like kills a human in his hands. And he's like, oh, they're like they're basically like they're nothing, and friggin' Sparkplug has to watch his friend get killed, right? Then, and this is where I was just like, wow, like, and I felt happy, I guess, that I got to read issue 1 and 2 back to back, because I think I would have made this connection still anyway, but it was much more evident reading them back to back that Daniel Warren Johnson ends that issue with that happening, and Starscream just being like, oh, they're like basically made of nothing, and he squishes this dude and kills him, and that's how the issue 1 ends. Then issue 2 opens with Optimus Prime looking at how beautiful Earth is. He's like, wow, this world is amazing, and he's just like out here just like appreciating Earth because he just came online. He had to like fight off some Decepticons from the ship and escape. But now that he has a moment to breathe, he's just like, oh, like, where am I? This is amazing. Like, this place is different than where I come from. And he literally crushes a deer.
Yeah.
He steps on a deer and he looks and he's like, oh my God. Like, he's sitting here like, oh my God. Like, you could tell he feels terrible.
Yeah.
About killing this thing that he's just like, I didn't even know, that this would happen. And Spike comes and is like, hey, I saw it happen. It was an accident. It's no big deal. And he's like, no, it is a big deal. He's like, where I come from, things are like, the whole thing is made of metal, and I don't have to be careful about how I move, but here I'm realizing it's different, and the ground gives and everything is fragile.
He's describing the ground like as he walks, like it was such a good, it's almost poetic. Like, and look, we're talking about poeticism, but about Transformers. Like, it's a good time to live.
Right, and he and Spike are having this conversation where he's like, it doesn't matter that I didn't intend for this to happen. He's like, I have to be careful because, like, and it's basically like Daniel Warren Johnson basically showing like the quote that's like the famous like Optimus Prime kind of line where he's like, freedom is the right of all sentient beings. You know what I'm saying? Where like Optimus Prime believes that if you're alive, you deserve to be alive and free and not be like under the boot of any kind of tyranny. And from his perspective, he's like, damn it, I was just a tyrant to this deer. I snuffed his life out without even thinking about it, and he felt genuinely bad about it. And I was like, man, that contrast between Starscream at the end of issue 1 and Optimus Prime right at the beginning of issue 2, I was like, man, that's crazy, man. And it's so perfect in how it encapsulates the difference between those two characters. And it just feels like he's nailing every single character. He nailed Prime, he nailed Ratchet, he nailed Cliffjumper, he nailed Spike, he even nailed Sparkplug, even though Sparkplug has never been this version of Sparkplug before. And then he messed around and nailed Starscream, he nailed Skywarp, he nailed Soundwave, and I'm just like, man. Even Carly,
even Laserbeak.
Right! That's what I'm saying. Like, these characters that like they only get like 2 panels, and I'm just like, damn, like this fool's nailing it. And that's the difference between Daniel Warren Johnson and friggin' Michael Bay, because Michael Bay thought he was doing us all a favor by putting Transformers on the screen, and it's like, nah, man, you're not doing me no favors. I can't speak for the rest of the Transformers community. I'll talk about myself. You didn't do me any favors, because I'm like, look, here, Daniel Warren Johnson shot Bumblebee in the face and was like, He dead. He dead. And then Starscream, even after that happened, was like, "Oh, you out here mourning the weakest one." He like, let's do a little bit of insult to injury out here. And I'm like, but that's what's real. It's like, yeah, Bumblebee is the weakest one. Like, why are we out here trying to pretend like this fool's bionic commando and like, the Transformers are happy to like they're lucky that Bumblebee is on the team. It's like, come on, man. Like, I'm not saying Bumblebee can't do some good stuff because Bumblebee in the cartoon does great stuff. And Bumblebee like gets his glow up in the Transformers cartoon too.
He's got
like
yeah.
We love Bumblebee. Like no one talks mess about Bumblebee. But if you're gonna mess around and make Bumblebee like the indispensable Transformer now, it's like, I don't know, man. Like it feels like y'all don't know what y'all doing over here. So, and Daewoo Johnson, I feel like he was like, oh yeah, man. Oh, y'all like Bumblebee? Good for you. Here's a shot to the face. So I don't know, man. As a fan, I'm just like, dude, like this is hitting on all levels for me. The end.
5 out of 5.
That's right. Exactly. Jay, what do you think, man? Like I know that you've been nodding your head and stuff, but you've been a Transformers fan as long as I have been. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love this book, and I'm not a big Prime fan, but man, they're just nailing him. And I don't say that I'm not saying that as if I don't like Prime. Like I do, I love Prime.
Right. Yeah,
but
we all love Prime.
He's not my favorite, but I like him and I like his role.
Mm-hmm.
And they are just doing really well with it. Like, dude, when he took off his arm and started kicking ass with it, I was like, man, that is a Prime thing to do.
Oh wait, did that happen issue 3?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm a bigger fan than you.
Yeah, it turns out
maybe Jay's like, maybe
were for us.
Jay's like, maybe I love Transformers a little more than you do, you son of a bitch. I'm like, oh, dude, there it is. Damn, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's like, sorry,
That's
I'm
so cool.
a little off. Okay. Yeah, it's like, dude, come on. Like, yeah, this is so good.
Iconic.
And for as much as I don't like how dirty the art style is, he still manages to come out with some pretty fucking impressive panels with it.
Yeah.
This one of my favorites.
Listen, another thing he does that I really enjoy, which is I would not have thought I would have enjoyed it, and that kind of encapsulates this book for me too, where there are a lot of things that happen in it that I'm like, if you had asked me if I would like that, I would have been like, oh no, I don't think I want that. But then when I see how it's executed in this book, I'm like, wow, you know what? That actually is working for me. Is like even like the transformations. Like the transformations are like it because it almost looks like the robots are kind of like falling apart and coming like they're recombining, which is what transformation basically is. But I don't know if I would have like if you had described it to me, I'd have been like, nah, I don't like that. I don't think I want it that way.
It's almost like he captures the transformation in a weird moment, like in a transition of the
100%.
And that's
100%.
where, from somebody that grew up watching Beast Wars, where it's like, the way Beast Wars transforms is how the toys transform. Like,
right, exactly. That was the first book or first cartoon to do that.
Yeah, so it's like seeing it, but I appreciate it in that sense here. And Daniel Warren would have not been like if somebody tells me, oh, Daniel Warren's doing a Transformers book, and I'm like, I don't know if that's the art that I would want to see, like leaving what I've seen already from IDW. And this is what I'm not gonna say it is bad. Like it's definitely I have Daniel Warren is somebody I'd have an open mind for sure.
Right. Right.
But
he's not the go-to.
Right. But I mean,
Mhm.
he's doing it. He's doing it, and he's doing it in his style. I've seen people do
Right.
stuff. It's like, oh man, he's gonna do this, and then they change the style a little. Like, there's like the
Yeah.
Bachalo, like Chris Bachalo Unleashed, and then Chris Bachalo working for Marvel before he can unleash. Like you
Right.
got
Right.
even Humberto Ramos and stuff like that. Joe
Yeah.
Mad, Joe Mad X-Men,
Yeah.
and then Battle Chasers, and then Joe Mad after Battle Chasers on Marvel.
Yeah.
Like different,
Yeah. Right.
And
No, you're right.
Alan Moore is just being himself throughout his whole career so far, which I'm fucking
Mhm.
proud of
And
myself. Yeah.
right. But
There's
the
another
wild part is,
panel.
oh, go ahead, Jay.
There's another panel that I love, but I
Mhm.
don't know if I can show it to you.
You can
Why
show it.
not?
There's a penis.
It's a little spoilery.
Oh, in issue 3,
Larry can't
Yeah.
see.
you can do it. You go ahead. Like, yeah, you're right. I can't see. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me.
Spoilers for issue 3 of Transformers. FYI, like, don't mess around and don't add us. Don't add. I don't even know if people add any people anymore, but
I wish they would.
it's coming.
We could use engagement.
Oh no! Who shot Spike? Son of a bitch! Okay, that's it. That's all I want to know. I don't need no more. You son of a bitch, Joe. I hate him. I hate Joe. Ah. Damn,
But I
watch, it's
love
gonna be
this panel. Like,
it's gonna be Carly. But no, that's enough. Where I'm just like, whoa! I'm like, Spike dead. He dead. He dead. Oh, Spike. No.
technically, there's one more panel that I really like, but
and
it's
I
just
like,
Starscream squishing another human.
of course, because look, but that's the thing. Like, look, the wow part, like you mentioned earlier, Moses, the Duke panel, and again, these are some spoilers, so but it's still worth reading, even though I'm telling you about it. It's like there's a point where they're in the fighter jet where it's like the pilot of what's old boy's name? Not Frosty. What's his name? Icing?
I think so.
What's his name? Y'all remember? It doesn't matter.
No,
There's a
it really
pilot,
doesn't.
and Duke is co-pilot, and they both eject because they're in a dogfight with Starscream, and they're trying to like fight this jet, and then it turns into a giant robot, and they're like, "Oh Jesus!" And so they get messed up, and they eject from their jet, which makes sense because they're flying like I don't know if it's an F-15 or F-16 or whatever, but there's a point where the pilot is basically face to face right there, right? Face to face with Starscream in the ejector seat, and he just splats him like a bug. And I'm like, oh Jesus Christ. I'm like, that is some old like
It won't let me
depraved
zoom
stuff.
in on it.
It won't let you zoom in on it.
Yeah.
But
you should be able to do guided view, like it's Kindle.
For some reason, issue 2 isn't letting me guided view.
These cocksuckers. That's why I went to Optimus.
I had to take my hand down. I don't want people to think that I was the one that said that. No, but listen, it's so depraved, but at the same time, and this is what I'm talking about when I was talking earlier about amped up, but it's not really amped up. It's just more like it's grown folk Transformers. Like that's Starscream doing that feels 100% Starscream.
Well, he's done it before. It's just always been like mechanical. Like he's done that with smaller robots.
Right, but
this is the first time we're seeing with people.
And that's the point, I think, where it's like, when you have him, and don't get me wrong, I'm not of the mindset where it's like, oh, it's a robot that's sentient, so it's not the same. I don't feel that way personally, because I'm like, sentient is sentient is sentient. But it's just like one of those things where obviously there are people that it's a machine, right? But we've never
Right.
seen Starscream just splat a person like that. And like, but it's not the splatting, it's it's the panel before the splatting where Starscream looks in the face of this person and smiles. And I was like, oh, look at you. You know, that's the Starscream aspect right there. And then when he goes, eh, I was like, oh my god, like Jesus, like why are you this person, Starscream? Like why are you like this? Like who hurt you? Why are you broken? And
And I
Starscream's like,
love how
oh
he's
no,
whining
yeah,
when they send him to go like do
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Like the leader
But
of the
here's
Decepticons whining about doing chores.
right, but and this goes to the other point I was trying to make earlier, where it's like, okay, one part of it is the art, but the other part is about the writing and the decisions he makes. Like if you say to me, oh, we're gonna make a Transformers comic. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's gonna be G1. Great, awesome. I'm in. Yeah, so we're not gonna have Megatron in it in the beginning. What? You know, like for me, if you tell me that, I'm like, well, why not? It's G1, right? Like, why would you not have Megatron? Well, you know, we think we were gonna have like Starscream as the leader of the Decepticons. Wait, in the beginning? You know, but again, it's like even the idea of like, oh, we're gonna have the arc and it's gonna bring all the robots back, but we're gonna have like the Autobots kind of get run out of the arc. What? You know, like again, if on paper, if you're sitting here, if you're pitching me an idea of the Autobots not being in the arc as their home base,
And I
you're like,
really,
oh,
see, look, Jay left, but I really wish Jay would have watched Scott Pilgrim, because that's what they do in that series now. It's basically, oh yeah, you remember you like the comics, like when he beats the guy up, and then the guy turns into coins. No, it's Scott Pilgrim's turns into coins, and he's
yeah. Well,
like, and that's it's a good like thematic parallel. Like if we were reviewing it
yeah,
like we were supposed to, it would have fit in,
yeah,
sense, because it
yeah,
still does, it still does its good stuff for what it
yeah.
is. Like Scott
This
Pilgrim,
is different.
yeah, it just does it different, and Jay wasn't here to hear it. Even like
You
I'm not subscribing
know,
to
purpose.
Netflix. I'm not subscribing to you.
He knew what you were gonna do. He knew what you were gonna say. He was like, "Nah, I'm out."
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I would not have thought that I would enjoy a Transformer series that's a G1 series, and there's only a handful of robots on both sides, and like, yeah, we're gonna have Optimus, but no Megatron. I'd be like, that sounds like a bad idea. But reading this, I'm like, dude, like Starscream and just like what Jay brought up, where it's like Starscream whining about like having to like serve the rest of the Decepticons, like because he's like the strongest one. It's like that's classic. That's not only is it classic Starscream, but if you know about Megatron, you're like Megatron would not have like he wouldn't even it wouldn't even been a question about what Megatron would have done in that situation if you know
Yeah.
Megatron.
And I
But
think that's
even
where I think this is where Daniel Warren can do these changes, can play around, like because he's literally just playing with the toys, like he's a fan.
yeah,
Whereas
right,
the Michael Bay makes these
yeah,
changes, and it's like,
yeah,
and he's never heard of it.
right. He's like, what would be hot is if the truck had flames on the side. What?
Yeah.
Why?
And it's like, well,
It's
let's
like,
make the
well,
weakest one
fire's
is
literally hot. It's like Michael Bay, I will punch you in the face.
like the weakest one is a bug, but why don't we make him a Camaro? Like bugs, I don't like bugs.
Right, dude. And don't get me wrong, they couldn't get the license to the bug,
Yeah,
so I get it.
but you could do something
But
else. But the
you could have done a
characterization,
PT Cruiser.
yeah, but also the characterization too. Like it's like
Yeah,
he could be
100%.
a Camaro, but still be the weakest one. Like that has his moment.
And it's not even weak. It's just he's the scout. That's a
Right.
different function.
Yeah,
It's like
Us.
messing around and and being like, oh, a sniper is weak. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
a sniper's not weak. It just performs a
Yeah.
different function
I only say
than
weak
like
because sense of like how Starscream referred to him, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. But it's wild, man. Like I'm just like I'm super amped on this book. And it's wild because I'm like, again, like, especially like, we talked about Void Rivals when that came out. And Void Rivals is technically the beginning of the Energon universe. And that book has been great. Like, I don't know if you all have read any more of that, but it's been really interesting in its own right, and has still kind of like, consistently had like random Transformer, like Transformers, like cameos. Not every issue, because it's its own thing still, and that by itself, without the Transformers cameos, is fantastic. It's just like the icing, like, like the cherry on top is the random Shockwave appearance. You know what I'm saying? And things like that. And so, or like, a Quintesson appearance or things like that. But it's interesting because, in issue 1, we did see friggin' Skyfire, and I'll wait.
Which I love how they use him
right
in the book. Like, it's great.
Right. Which again, and that's the thing where I'm like, we saw that happen in Void Rivals as like the friggin' backdoor Energon universe joint in issue 1, and then when you read issue 1 of Transformers, Skyfire shows up, and I'm just like, wow, like that's so cool, because like not only does it give you like, because I when I was reading Transformers, I was like, that's and it's not like when Skyfire shows up big and transformed, I'm looking at the little dot, like, there's Skyfire.
Yeah.
I know that Skyfire. Right, exactly. I know that Skyfire in the distance because I saw him in Void Rivals. I'm like, oh, there's Skyfire, goddamn. And I'm like, here he is. And he showed up and got everybody on, like, got like, and it's so funny just because it's like, it's interesting because, again, it's like, it feels like Daniel Warren Johnson being a fan and like understanding like what happened in, say, the cartoon or in the comic, and being like, okay, I'm going to do something a little bit different, but it rhymes. It feels like the story beats are happening in the same way, but they're happening in a different way, because it's like, I'm not trying to tell the same story. And it's like, and then here's the thing, it rhymes in so many different ways, because if you know like how Skyfire gets introduced in the cartoon, it feels very much like a parallel, because like this dude was like, him and Starscream were friends, so it makes sense for him to be like, oh, like, let me make sure Starscream's good because that's my boy. And then when Starscream comes to life and he's like, I'm trying to kill everything, he's like, hey man, why are you tripping? He's like, why are you acting like this? He's like, no, we can't. I can't have you just out here killing things indiscriminately. He's like, oh, he's like, everyone that has this symbol, we kill. And he's like, what? Because this dude was out of it. He wasn't there for all of this. So which again is very much what happened in the TV show in a completely different way. And so it's just like, wow, it's like, it's so cool. And I'm just like, man, like, it just makes it interesting. And poor Skyfire messes around and gets like gotten in the book, and you're just like, damn, like, man, like, this dude didn't deserve that. But he served his purpose, which was getting us Transformers #1 comic. This fool's like, I'm out because we don't have no Robotech licenses. Right? So, which again is why he looks different in the cartoon again, and why he looks different in Void Rivals, which is like, it's crazy. It's crazy, but man, it's a wild. I love it. I love it. Anyway, look. Do you all have anything else you want to say about Transformers #1 or #2, or should
I
we just
do hate
rate it?
this book, this title, and this Energon universe, because Christmas is coming, and
Right.
now like I want to buy all of them for my brother because he doesn't
There
know
it
anything.
is.
He doesn't know anything about this, so I'm like, here, like read Void Rivals first, and then read this. Yeah,
He's definitely gonna definitely call you the N word.
Oh yeah. No, I'm gonna call it to him before. Read this, you N word.
But no, listen.
You N word.
What you might need to do is buy him Void Rivals #1, and maybe do like
no, I want him to read
reaction.
all of it because it's all good. Like he's like,
oh yeah,
for Void Rivals.
I'm saying
the thing about Void Rivals is that it's good on its own, even though it's part of this universe. So I would do like the trade paperback for Void Rivals, because they're already on.
That's a good idea.
I think they already have the trade paperback for Volume 1, but I'm not sure. But
I don't know, because I feel like Void Rivals is on like it's 6 issues, so that's enough for a trade.
Yeah. But I don't. 6 hasn't come out yet, right?
I think it did.
It did. Okay, so they should.
It might have just come out though.
Yeah. Okay. So they might not have it in time for Christmas. So again,
you might be right.
And
right. You might be right.
Transformers issues. So I'm on the hook for 9 issues for this motherfucker's Christmas present.
You're hilarious. But yeah, man, it's something else. So anyway, Most Magnum, why don't you rate Transformers 1 and 2? What would you rate it?
This is a 5 out of 5, man. Like it's just, aside from me having to give it to my brother for Christmas, like that doesn't even knock it off the point because it's all good. Like even like the Carly, the people in it, like it's a good balance, and it's like even doing like the tying into the G.I. Joe is doing it so well, like almost seamless in a sense. Like if you know, you know, 100%. Kind of thing. Like it's not super heavy handed, and it just like, and that's what I like about Void Rivals too. That's why I got to give him that shit too,
Right.
And so it's like this is one of those things. It's like, this is a universe I want to buy everything of. Like I'm excited about the Cobra Commander and Duke book.
Duke.
Like, yeah, I'm just so.
I agree.
Yeah. Thankfully, I have Omnibus.
Right. Jay, what would you rate Transformers 1, 2, and I guess 3 for you?
I would give it a 5 out of 5 too. I like what they're doing with the characters. I like the art. I would have preferred something different, but I like it. And even Cliff Jumper, man, that's crazy that they made him interesting.
I like when he's like,
right.
Wait, not only made him interesting, but only in a couple panels. Like that's the wild part. Like this fool is doing high level characterization in like
2 lines of dialogue. Yeah.
Right, exactly. No, look, less dialogue than the panels. You're right, because most of the Cliff Jumper's like,
But even in like issue 3, he comes back and he's like,
nice,
man. Like I like what they're doing with them. Like
I agree.
He fits that role perfectly.
It reminds me of when Larry tried at San Diego ComicCon to get the backdrop for the Transformers with the Daniel Warren.
I did try. I was like, hey, who? What happens when this goes away? Like when you're gonna break this down. Where's it gonna go? And my man's like, oh, I think that the Skybound guys are like, yeah, we're gonna keep this and put it in our offices. And I'm like, son of bitches. Now I got to try to get a job there.
Yeah, you got to be a
So anyway, listen, in case you all weren't paying attention before, this is a 5 out of 5 for me too. Like, here's the thing. If you're a Transformers fan, this is a 5 out of 5. If you're not a Transformers fan, this is a 5 out of 5. Like, just mess with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you read these books, these like I can't speak to issue 3 because I haven't read that yet. But if you read issue 1 and issue 2 and you're not satisfied, like feel free to hit me up at Mayor Young on whatever social media. Like, okay, like I will take responsibility for the fact that you didn't like it, but you do. So why are we even messing around? Like you just thank us. Just be like, don't go to at Mayor Young, go to at Fantastic Forum and be like, hey, thanks for hitting me to Transformers #1, 2, and 3 because it's a great book. That's like really the long and the short of it. It's like it's a cool ass book on every level, whether you're a Transformers fan or not. And that's great. It blows my mind because I don't feel like you can say that about every Transformers book. Like I feel like maybe IDW books, not at the beginning, but if you give it a chance and stick with it, I feel like whether you're a Transformers fan or not, you might become invested. But if you're not a Transformers fan in the beginning, you might not hang with like IDW. You know what I mean?
No,
I feel
that
like
is true.
yeah, right. I feel like if you're talking about like Dreamwave, the art might hold you, and you might like mess around with those books.
I forgot they had stories.
Right, well, they do, and the stories are okay. The art is the main draw. And the art might, but the art is so good, it might be enough for you to be like, I just bought all these because look at it. And who can fault you? Because the art is that good.
Had all the shiny covers too, like
right, dude. Look, it's a testament to how good Transformers art can be. So nobody's gonna be like, you shouldn't have bought these because, like the stories aren't why you buy Dreamwave Transformers comics. They're not terrible. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that's not the draw. And then if you're talking about like say Marvel Comics Transformers, it's like that's like a thing unto itself, where it's like it's not necessarily about whether you like Transformers or not. It's like it's more about whether you like those stories or not, because the stories are good. Like if those stories are being told with like superheroes you recognize, you would be like some of the best stories you've ever read. But it's Transformers, and the art is good, but it's different because it's almost like the thing that I always thought was interesting about it is like the Transformers art for those Marvel comics is almost like people in Transformers like armor. It's like even like the hands are regular human hands. And then you have like the Transformer, like it literally has like a Transformer kind of like, right, exactly. Like, it's like the faces are human faces, but with like Transformer helmets, so it's like, but the stories are amazing. Like Transformers.
I do think we should move on though.
Yeah, we will. Let's talk about Night. All right, there it is. Jay, why don't you tell the people what Nights is all about?
Oh, I'm doing it. Okay. The year is 2003. Spain owns Florida. The United States only has 31 states. And it's about a kid who is moving to Florida after his parents die. So he goes to live with his cousin, a vampire, and a roommate who becomes a ghost after he dies. And it's kind of just like not a slice of life, because there's definitely a end of the world hook, but it starts off a little slice of lifey with him like adjusting to his new life, and with his cousin battling the voices in his head, and the vampire being a klepto, and the ghost being dead. And then they're kind of just, yeah, you know. And so, yeah, right now they're doing stuff. Basically, the Oddity Hunters are coming. And then
is that more than issue 2? Like, is that issue 2?
That is issue 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I didn't know we were doing that. I only read 1.
I know, but I was already reading it, so
okay.
I'm current. You don't have
I've only
to
read
be up
issue
where
1
I
myself.
am. I know, but I am current, and I feel like I'm not spoiling it for you. Like, I'm not ruining the experience.
Yeah, I don't know what that even means. So
no, I do. I get what Jay's saying, except that, like, at least for my review, I have a specific review for issue 1, but I know it's gonna change when I read issue 2 or 3.
I
so
believe
it's
that.
like it's not even a spoiling thing. It's more like maybe it's more like I don't want my review tainted. Like, I'm gonna have to change my mind on the fly, which is not something I'm good at.
In any case, Vince has a crush on Gray.
Yes,
and
I
he's
think
got
we
to
know
deal with that
from issue 1. I think we do know that.
That's the longest crush ever, like 5 years.
But I think it develops.
I don't feel like the longest crush. I think
I don't know,
that's
man.
regular.
He liked her when he met her, and then he liked that other girl when he met her too.
Right. Listen, keep in mind that especially when you're talking. Wait, say again.
He's girl crazy.
Right, because he likes 2. But no, I mean, here's the thing. When the 5 years pass, he's like 17, right?
Something like that.
I think so.
So he's had a crush on her since he was 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I get it. Like 5 years feels like a long time to have a crush on somebody when you're an adult. But if you're talking about like 12 to 17, it's like, dude,
yeah,
like
they live together. Like, he should have already been rejected like twice.
No, man, look, you fast, Mo. You fast.
Like, he probably watched her shit
once. No. Vampires don't even do that. Or do they? I don't know.
How do you know? This world's weird. Like, they got vampires, you got ghosts, and they all just chill.
Right. I don't even know. And that's the gift and the curse of nights. Because, like, I know for me, I was like, I find the world really interesting. At the same time, I'm like, there's a part of me that feels like, and again, this is me like having read issue 1. I didn't get to read issue 2, unfortunately, or 3. Because 3 came out like today, right?
I don't know when it came out.
Okay. When did you read it?
I read it today.
Okay. So, I feel like the book puts a lot of interesting things out there. And, for me, when I'm talking about like issue number 1s, like, I'm big, of course, on like world building and characterizations. And I feel like it honestly does a pretty decent job with characterizations. It doesn't do as great of a job in regards to world building. only because it leaves
But
a lot.
tries.
Oh, it 100% tries.
Yeah, that's the
Like
weird part.
yeah, like and I don't know if it's like a thing where they're like, hey, we don't want to like put all our cards on the table right up front, and that's okay. Like like there is something to be said about like leaving some things like more mysterious, but at the same time, it's kind of like, but we need something, and I feel like it doesn't necessarily give us the something. It kind of puts us out there where it's like there's ghosts and there's vampires and that that's the thing, but they don't tell you a lot about any of it in the first issue. And
Well,
so
they tell
you
you
kind of
all you
leave.
need to know about the ghosts.
What is that?
That they have 25 years to finish their unfinished business or they disappear.
Well, but is that all that I need to know about the ghosts?
Yes.
See, I don't know if that's true because, like, for instance, like the one ghost that I saw. Oh, well, actually, there's two ghosts I saw, right? And they look like skeletons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when you like in my
Like, why do they look like skeletons?
right, like that's how ghosts look like from your like pop culture kind of deal with ghosts. Like ghosts aren't skeletons. Skeletons are skeletons.
And it's okay that that's the case here. Like for me,
Right.
I feel like it was a design choice and a stylistic choice based on the
Right.
world that they created. But there's not enough in this world to tell me why that is. It's not
Right.
something that I necessarily need, but it does push me
Okay.
out. Yeah.
This is okay. Yeah, this is something I don't know if I can empathize with. I watch a lot of horror movies.
Yeah.
So skeletons are ghosts all the fucking time.
That's not true. Skeletons are
Yes.
ghosts all the time.
Not literally all the time. Like there are some times where they're just skeletons.
I'll give you.
Let me ask you this, Jay. Let me ask you this, Jay. If you ask your, go ahead, Mo.
No, but in this world, they're just like, man, is it weird that they're just walking around like this? And then the one just goes and says, yes. Like this is a different than any horror movie. Like it's a specific these, even though what you say it may be true, Jay, this is specific to this. And they start off by telling you this world is different than yours.
Right.
So and
which we buy into.
The thing, yeah, so I'm okay with, like, if this was a manga, I'd have no questions, and it does do manga things in it, so I'm okay with that. Like, I'm even like, aside from my big thing is more with the world building. Like, they tell you, okay, this is the world here, but nothing in issue 1 tells me why the world being that affects these characters at all.
It doesn't.
Right. So why bother with making it like Spain owned Florida by 33 states, Like I'm waiting for that.
Yeah,
when they tell me that, I'm waiting for that to come into play. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Again,
I'm not a film student, so
I'm not either.
Really, but you're talking like one.
No, well, the book tells me, like, I'm going as a comic book reader. Like the book tells me, I'm waiting for it to play out.
A film student.
Maybe, but I'm judging a comic book from what I've read.
It's the whole thing where they say, like, if a gun shows up in whatever act, you expect for that gun to like be relevant in a later act.
Yeah, I think
that's whole,
and that's why
I know you don't, Jay, but that's most people.
That's all I'm saying. I don't. Like, I know film students do that, but I'm not a film student. I'm just here to consume media.
Right. But I feel like most of us are like, well, why you bring that up?
Analyze it. Yeah, you're here to analyze it. That's what you're
What are you bringing that up for then? If it's not relevant, then why are we even mentioning it?
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, there's no reason for that world to be like that for what the story they gave me in issue 1. Now, Jay, again, before you insult me by calling me a film student, I'm a film master. But before you do that, that's why I didn't want you to really talk about the other issues, because it could be something that comes up later. That because
It
with
doesn't.
this spoilers, like I'm over here trying to read the next book, dude. Like you're trying, but oh, go ahead, Larry.
No, I think it's besides the point where it's like, I feel like, and maybe this is different in other parts of the world. I don't know.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about ghosts, like ghosts aren't skeletons in America. So I'm just like,
name one, Jay.
They're not, Jay. Like most ghosts in America are skeletons.
I didn't say most. I said ghosts in America are skeletons. They have
name one, Jay.
Well, where is a ghost a skeleton in an American media?
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo? Nobody in Scooby-Doo is actually even supernatural. It's all people.
God damn it, you normie.
Scooby-Doo. Jay, answer this question before we go further. Answer this question, Jay. Most of Scooby-Doo monsters are actually monsters, or are they mostly people?
Mostly people.
So
I'm saying, if you knew,
where's the ghost? That's
the fact is, there are a ton of Scooby-Doo that aren't.
Not a ton. There's some.
I'm gonna say a ton.
You've already met. You've already admitted that most of them are people.
Look, if 2 tons are people, then there's a ton of people. That's 3 tons of Scooby-Doo.
And all people have
being all supernatural. Dude, they had. Well, no, I'm not gonna bring that up because I know you didn't watch it.
No, but we're looking for an example.
I'm saying,
listen, if most of Scooby-Doo is supernatural, just put it out there. I'll listen. But if most of Scooby-Doo is people, then I think I'm right.
I'm saying there is a lot of Scooby-Doo that is people, but there's a not an equal amount, but there's less Scooby-Doo that is supernatural. But it's not enough that you can just discount it.
I want to see the skeleton ghost from Scooby-Doo.
Oh my God, skeleton ghost. Okay.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Like you're saying it like we're being unreasonable, but skeleton ghost is what we're talking about. We're like,
I'm not even saying I didn't like the book. I just want an example. Like
I don't want you to look up anything. What I want is for you to be like, in America, when we talk about ghosts, we're not talking about skeletons.
Like we talk more about blankets than anything.
Huh?
It's more blankets than anything. Like it's more iconic to see a ghost with cutout eyes on a blanket than it is.
Right.
You know,
but
Snapchat symbol isn't a skeleton.
You know? Most of the ghosts we talk about in America are spirits. Like they're like things that look like people, but like transparent. And it's like, for me, I'm just like,
and is that not a ghost?
Yeah, a person that looks transparent is a ghost.
It's just not a skeleton.
But a transparent person isn't showing their skeleton. They're just see-through.
Okay,
Joe, why are you acting like you don't understand what I'm saying? Joe, a person
I understand you're talking nonsense.
I'm not, Joe. I'm literally like, Joe, Ghostbusters, right? You're familiar with Ghostbusters?
Yes.
How many ghosts in Ghostbusters are skeletons?
I believe 2.
2? Okay, which 2?
The librarian was a skeleton, and the cab driver was a skeleton.
The librarian has like a skeleton portion, but the librarian is mostly a person that's see-through. It gets like scary in a moment, and it's not. You could call it a skeleton, but it's not actually a skeleton. It's just like a emaciated person.
It's like a Somali.
What I'm hearing is you could call it a skeleton.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's like a shrunken person mostly. It's like, oh, their skin sticks to their bones.
Here's the thing. I don't currently have the time to rewatch Ghostbusters.
I'm not asking you to rewatch anything. I'm
definitely
not
going to watch the entire library of Scooby-Doo. That's thousands
I don't
of
want that
episodes,
either.
literally.
I don't.
Like, I'm not going to do it. Like, I don't have the time. I
You
don't have
don't
the
need to do it. All you have to do
inclination.
is admit.
All I'm going to do is say
is that most ghosts aren't skeletons.
But enough are that you can't discount it. You can't just say
We're not discounting
enough
that they don't
where?
exist.
no,
But
it doesn't exist.
I'm not even discounting it. Like I'm just saying it's an odd choice, a different choice. It's probably something brought in from another country, and
I see it all the time in America.
Do you
look?
Where?
Is
what we're asking. Where? Where are these?
What I will say about this book,
I'm pretty sure even some of the Pirates of the Caribbean ghosts were skeletons.
They're decaying people, but yeah, I was going to use that as an example. But again, that's not a typical.
But there, Scooby-Doo has skeleton ghosts.
But here's the thing: if you ask a random person, is that pirate a ghost or what? They're like, oh, that's a zombie.
I'm sorry, you're better than random people.
No, but
they're better than random people.
But they're also but they're actual physical bodies in the Pirates of the Caribbean. Like when the moon shines, then you see the skeleton decaying stuff.
Oh, okay, listen. I'm gonna stop this. We're gonna talk about the comic.
I'm gonna try to, but you guys keep.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the comic because it's okay. Like we can stay here forever, but we're not gonna do that. Let's talk about the actual comic itself because, what I'll say is this: from my personal perspective, is the book is interesting, and the characters are interesting
and likable.
Say again.
And likable. Like I actually like.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. Yeah. Like what they did in regards to like introducing you to like each of the roommates was awesome. What they didn't do well, unfortunately, was they have this world that feels interesting because, especially considering that, and I think this goes back to what Mo said, was like they told you all these things about this world. They didn't show you, they told you. They're like, Florida belongs to Spain. There's only 30 states. Ghosts are ubiquitous. What else was ubiquitous? Vampires are ubiquitous. Friggin', and they also tell you the internet is like not a factor because and it's also like earlier time wise than what we are in present day.
It's 2000.
And so it's like, right. And that all makes sense to me where, and don't get me wrong, like obviously the internet was a bigger factor in 2003 in our world than it is in this world.
Well, the way they described it is like infantile and pointless, which is closer to what it is now.
No. I mean, well, yes and no, because I what they meant by infantile wasn't about how people act on it. I feel like what they meant was it was like
burgeoning
how the internet is in like 1999.
Like GeoCities home pages.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's what I think they meant.
I still have a political blog.
But at the same time, like, like they talk about, like, say for instance, they talk about vampires being ubiquitous. But in what we've read in issue 1, it's like, well, it feels like Home Chick is like the only vampire that's like around for the most part. And it's like,
yeah, you only get like one per state.
Like he even mentioned that he didn't have one where he lived.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you actually
But
killed
it's
one?
like it can't be both ubiquitous and rare, right?
They didn't.
It has
Well, I don't think they use ubiquitous, but they did said that they're there and they're benign.
right, but that's the thing. Like, I feel like it's in the same way, like how like in when you talk about Jedi, like Jedi aren't commonplace. Like most people
Yeah.
in the galaxy haven't met a Jedi, and so that doesn't make them benign. Like they know that there's like a thing that exists. It's not, like think about it in our sense, like in the sense like okay, like we like in our world, we know that there's a such thing as like a Navy SEAL,
Mhm.
but most people haven't met a Navy SEAL, right? We know that it's a thing, but when you meet one, you're like, whoa, that's crazy. Like I've heard of y'all, right? And that's how like that's a different thing than how they portray it as far as like vampires and ghosts and stuff in this world. But it's kind of like, but it's almost more like that for at least for this kid, which I get he's from like a different place, and the rest of the people feel like a little bit more like, oh yeah, vampires and ghosts, like they're here all the time. There's more ghosts in the first issue than there are vampires, but or maybe not. Maybe it's the same, but I don't know.
I think there's
But I
only
guess that's the
one.
thing, right? That's the whole thing where it's like it's weird because they tell you this, but they don't show it to you as far as world building. The characters are great. Like I love the characters. And technically I guess they show us two ghosts because oh boy ends up dying,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And then two
And you're
vampires
just like
because they kill one, right?
did they kill one of the vampires?
Yeah, the
No.
cousin. What did he kill then?
He killed a person.
A person that had bat ears and red eyes and
Oh, he doesn't kill that guy, does he? Does he kill that guy?
yeah, and there's blood in the fridge, like all these blood bags in the fridge. Like he slams his head with the fridge.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, right.
And then there's
And yeah,
blood in
he does look like a
Yeah.
vampire, like a
that's a
Nosferatu
vampire.
vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had a bunch
Yeah.
of
Pretty
blood
sure
bags.
it's an oddity, but
Oh, see, but that might be something that's like not clear from us reading just issue 1.
Right. They should have put that in the part where they explain the states.
Because we don't even know. I don't even know what an oddity is. I don't know
Yeah.
what that is. So because they don't cover that.
well, I'm
in the
not going to
first-
spoil it for you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Che. I appreciate it. But I guess that's the whole thing where the
What?
point I'm making is that
I
it
wish the
doesn't
writer
give
would have
you-
spoiled this for me in issue 1. Like I would have needed to know that more than the states.
And I think that's the whole thing where it's like it gives you good characters, but it doesn't give you great world building, unfortunately. And it seems like it's going to, but then it doesn't, which I think is a little bit more of a letdown, just because it's like it feels like it's going somewhere, but when you go for the ride for one, you're kind of like, eh. And don't get me wrong, like what I know is this is a good book. Like I can tell that despite the failures, or maybe not failures, that's maybe
The
too harsh of a word.
missteps.
Right. Despite the missteps of the first issue. This is a good book. Like I will read issue 2. But I'm also a person that's like well versed in comics to be able to like I feel like make that assertion as opposed to somebody that's just like, like like I have friends who listen to our show and they're like, I read this book because you all talk so highly about it. Like whatchamacallit was one of those. What's the horror joint with the teddy bear?
Beneath the trees where nobody sees.
There you go. I've had friends of mine that were like, I listened to your show and you talked about this Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, and I decided to read that joint. And they were like, that joint's phenomenal. You know?
Nice.
Right. I don't know that those same people would necessarily read this book and be like, oh, yeah, this feels like another winner.
Well,
You
now
know,
with
where it's like,
review.
well, but it's not, but
I'm joking.
yeah, but that's the whole thing where it's like, yeah, because we're just like, I mean, we're not trying to lead people wrong, and this is our experience where it's like, it doesn't feel like Beneath the Trees, where it's like Beneath the Trees is like, oh, that's a winner. Like everything you need to know, you can get in that first issue. And this joint is kind of like, I have questions, and and I have questions being a person that's like, I read comics all the time. So imagine if you didn't read comics all the time. And you're
There's-
like, so, why does Spain own Florida? Which makes sense
why?
from a
Well,
historical
never mind.
perspective. No. Go ahead. Express, Jay. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it feels like it makes more sense than America owning it.
I mean, like I can see in all because I'm a student of history, I can totally understand how that could be a thing from an alternative historical perspective. But not everybody is in that, like not everybody's like read
Well,
like that.
the important thing is, what it can be or couldn't be. It's how does it affect the story? Like,
Right.
if they make it a point, like, how does it affect the story? So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I just don't care. Like,
Right.
they gave me a world, and now I'm in it. Like,
right, but they could give you that world without that page saying you that.
but
Like,
I
that's
don't want it without that.
That's a wasted
It's
page.
like it tells me about the world. Like, and if you don't want to know that about the world, I get that. But I would like to know.
Well, it's not that you don't want to know. It's just that when you tell somebody that, it makes it feel like it's going to be relevant down the line. But it sounds like it's not.
I don't know.
And it could be, but
I
as a
watch a lot of
it's not.
stuff with
Yeah.
not like I watch not a lot of stuff where the world is different from our own, but I watch some, and it almost never comes into play. But I still want to know that it's different.
And understand, Jay, that I definitely get it, especially knowing you, where
In
it's like
Steven Universe, there's no Russia.
right. And this is a very, no, I will say a particular thing to Jay, but it's a particular thing to Jay and people like Jay, which I think is a contingent of consumers that don't get enough credit, where it's like, there's some people that are just like, it doesn't need to be relevant beyond you just telling
But
it.
did Steven Universe start in the first episode telling you there's no Russia?
Oh, they never tell you. They just show you a map of the world, and there's a big hole where Russia is.
And that's like a political thing because of the creators, right?
Yeah, they don't like Russia.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah. And so, hey, it is what it is, But, yeah. And here's the thing. I'm not going to knock the book because I'm like saying like, oh, it's terrible because of this. It's not terrible. It's interesting. And again, like I said, I'm going to read more issues of it. It's just one of those things where it's like, what I know is that the world building, like they could have done the job in a different way where I'd have been intrigued by all these things. And instead, I'm just more confused by them.
Speaking of world building stuff, I do love how like their text pages have it in like 4 different languages.
No, and I agree. Like that's a super cool thing. And I was also like, oh, okay, like I feel like that's going to come into play. And it doesn't in issue 1, but at the
Or
same
2
time,
or
I'm like,
3.
And I'm assuming, like, okay, like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, like, there's like a geopolitical significance to why these particular languages are being put forward with these captions, and that will be explained to me. I thought it was going to happen in issue 1. It didn't. I'm assuming it would have happened further down the line, but if it hasn't, well, it's like, okay. And that, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, sometimes things are like that, where it's like there's things that happen, like, for instance, in Harry Potter, where it's like there are reasons why particular characters do particular things, and you know, it's like the reasoning isn't apparent until you ask, like, J.K. Rowling, and she's like, oh, that happens this way because of this, this, and this. And somebody had a fan theory that was why it goes down that way, and she confirms it. Like, yeah, absolutely, that's exactly why it happens. And it's not that important to the overall narrative, but people wondered and they got an answer. And so it could be something like that. I don't know, but I guess the book is dependent, or not dependent, but the book is, I guess, more so it's banking on you're gonna find these characters interesting enough to stick with it.
I do like the characters.
Yeah, and I feel like the characters are interesting, and I would say that like maybe half of them are probably interesting enough to be like, let me read another issue. What I can say is, because of how they did the world building and some of the stuff they did with characterization wise, I can see some other people being like, no, I don't need to read the next issue. And while that might not be my experience, I don't know if I could knock the next person for being like, no, that's how I feel about it. So yeah.
So one of the things I didn't like about the book is every once in a while, like, it doesn't happen often, but like once or twice, it feels like there's part of the dialogue missing.
Yeah.
It's one of the questions I was going to ask you, if it's a book that's translated from another country.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I feel like it's probably like an Italian book, or but
let's see, that's the wrong book. It's by Wyatt Kennedy. Wait, hold on. That's not Wyatt Kennedy.
Connecticut.
Oh, it is Wyatt Kennedy. Because Wyatt Kennedy, Luigi from Misano, Francisco Segala, and ML Mirabella. So maybe it is foreign. It's Image, so you know how they do.
You know how they do. Darn Image.
And I like the art. Yeah. I don't know if anyone else liked the art.
No, I enjoyed it, but good too. I did think that the cousins looked too similar.
Well, they're related.
No, they're not. He just said he just called my mom auntie, or he just called his, my mom just called his mom auntie.
That's related.
But it's not. That's the only thing. Like,
it's black people, Mo.
Look, I know black people that don't look like each other.
Oh, damn it, Mo! Why you gotta bring that up?
Speaking of things that aren't from our world, there is a talking mole issue 2.
Talking mole?
Yeah, a starface mole.
Oh wow!
I'm in.
And it's treated as normal. So
what?
Yeah, I mean, I look again. I can understand that in a world where you got ghosts that look like skeletons and like and all that. Like, it's just if you tell me why they talk, if you tell me that they talk, look, if they would have told me that Starface moles talk in the first page, and then I see a talking one, I'm like, oh, okay, good. Thank you for that. If
I
you told
don't
me
think
it's
they
fake,
ever tell you. They just
no, I know,
introduce the character.
I know, I'm fine. I'm fine with that too.
His
But
name is Starvin. Like Steven, but with the star.
yeah, But if you tell me that Florida is owned by Spain, I wonder what they're gonna do with this.
He
Yeah,
broke up with his wife.
what was her? What's his
I
wife's
don't
name?
know her name.
He just calls her cunt now.
No, he doesn't
Wow.
hate her, but he does have to move on, or he did move on.
Like I said, I think we should rate it, and I'll start with I give it a 3.5. Like that 0.5. Like,
Wait, did we talk about the art? I forgot.
yeah, we talked. We liked
A
the
little
art.
bit, yeah.
Okay.
I like the design. Like the only thing I don't like is how the cousins look alike, like two alike. But
Right,
then
you just said
that changes halfway through the book anyway. So when they do the little time jump, and me, I hate time jumps, but I didn't even mind it here. Like,
Yeah.
I could have sworn you were gonna hate that.
no, I didn't, in the sense where it's like, okay, they're trying to cram information here. So it's like, okay, this is him getting there, and this is him now, and then when I saw that, I'm like, okay, so the story wasn't even really about those moments as much as what's coming now. And then sure enough, that last page is like, oh, okay, all right, now we're getting started. This is issue 0. Yeah,
That never comes up again.
that ending of issue 1. That doesn't
Yeah.
come up again. It doesn't.
It's so weird, dude. It's so
Okay.
weird.
You know what? Fuck this book. It's a 1. It's a 1. I don't even like these fucking. Yeah, fuck these. Yeah, I don't even like these characters that much. I'm not gonna read it. Fuck. I was gonna do it just for that,
So
and
weird. Like, I don't even understand. Like, that doesn't make
1
any
out of 5.
sense. Wow.
It's pointless. Like, this is what Image is spending its money on. Like, meanwhile, we lose Millar World to Dark Horse.
It's too funny.
Yeah, and of course, this book is gonna come out on time.
Jay, what would you rate it?
I would give it a 4 out of 5. Like, I really enjoyed it. I wish I had money to buy the shirts. Yeah, I enjoy it. I like the art. I like the characters. I like the aesthetic and the mood of the story, the world. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Like, my only thing is some of the dialogue. Like, twice, I think they're missing a word bubble.
Really? Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
And yes, I did go and translate all of Greatest German, except for issue 3. I didn't have time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I would give it a I think I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5. It's like there's something there. And I definitely would like to check a little bit more of it out, but like there's definitely some execution issues in regards to like in issue 1. And yeah, like it'd have been nice if it could have like smooth those out a little bit. But at the same time, it's like I've read plenty of comics that issue 1 wasn't the best, and ultimately it ends up being a good book. So,
But according to
you know,
Jay, it's like you got nothing to look for.
no. Listen,
That's not what I said.
yeah, like exactly, like Jay's saying, like the stuff that you're looking to like be more relevant or to connect isn't going to connect, or it's not necessarily going to be relevant, and that doesn't mean that it's not.
Yeah, it might come in issue. Like it looks like they're building up to that thing, but it'll be a while. Because right now they're dealing with the thing that killed Jeff.
The book does that where it says like, oh, like even when the roommate was dead, like it's like, oh yeah, he's dead now. We'll get to that later. Like it does that, and even for that last page, it says it's like until this happened, but and then you're gonna find. I knew that doesn't happen in the next issue. Like I know it's like a flash forward thing to what we could look for.
Kills him?
No. The last page, like where she destroys the world, or whatever. It's like I know, like
be a while.
Yeah, it doesn't. I didn't feel like it's gonna be in the next issue or so. But the way you just said it is like that. They're never gonna touch on that again. It felt like.
I said they don't. Like
You said they don't, but
2 and 3.
Right again. But like I
doesn't
said that
come up.
earlier. I said that earlier about all the stuff in the first page, and so I'm like, okay, now I'm sensing a pattern here. So fuck this book. The first page and the last page are irrelevant as it goes.
Yeah. Okay.
The end.
The end. I agree. All right. Well, shoot. Let's do some final thoughts. That's good. All right. Hey, final thoughts, buddy.
I guess fuck Apple Arcade.
Why?
Because I don't have it. And they have games I want to play.
Good reason. I agree with you, Jay. You're right. Apple.
Larry has Apple Arcade. Larry has Apple Arcade, but he doesn't have an Apple device to play it on.
Oh yeah. I didn't even. Yeah, I don't. I didn't even know that. You're right. I don't have an Apple device. Most Magnum. Final thought.
Yeah. R.I.P. Ralph Sorella. You'll be missed. And yeah, stay tuned. Subscribe, like the bell, hit the bell, like the bell, whatever. We got more videos coming later on this week, including one of Oz putting together a punchline set that he just got.
Huzzah. All right. And yeah, dude, like R.I.P. Norman Lear. Yeah, I mean, he should. I mean, well, he was 101, so it's not necessarily surprising that he's gone. But at the same time, it's like, dude, still a legend. Like, so much he contributed to pop culture in general. Not necessarily comic book related, but probably still comic book related periodically here and there because of so many pop culture shows. So, shout out to Norman Lear for the entire Fantastic Forum. Oh, okay. Look, there it is. Silent. Thank you all for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. We'll be back next week. Until then, we are the Fantastic Forum. Good night.